Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Chapter 6 The Remarkable Incident of Dr. Lanyon. Time passed by. Thousands of pounds were offered in reward for the capture of Mr. Hyde, but it appeared as if he had never existed. Much information was discovered about his past. Mr. Hyde was a cruel, callous and violent individual. From the time he had left the house in London on the morning of the murder, he was never seen again. Now the evil influence of Mr. Hyde had been removed, a new life began for Dr. Jekyll. He became once more a happy guest and good entertainer. Dr. Jekyll did a lot of charity work and would regularly go to church. He was busy and happy, and his handsome face shone with delight. For more than 2 months, the doctor was at peace. On the 8th of January 1887, Mr. Utterson had dined at Dr. Jekyll's delightful house with a small party. Dr. Lanyon had been there. It was like the old days when the trio were inseparable friends. On the 12th of January and again on the 14th of January 1887, Dr. Jekyll refused to allow Mr. Utterson into his house. On the 15th of January, Mr. Utterson was again refused. He was sad and confused. For the last 2 months, he saw his friend almost daily, and now Dr. Jekyll did not want to see anyone, even his closest friends. Mr. Utterson went to see Dr. Lanyon. Mr. Utterson was shocked at the sudden change which had taken place in Dr. Lanyon's appearance. He looked like he was going to die. Dr. Lanyon had lost weight, he looked older and was almost bald. He had a look of deep terror in his eyes. Yes, he thought, he is a doctor, he must know that his days are numbered. When Mr. Utterson remarked on Dr. Lanyon's ill looks, he said, "Yes, I know I'm going to die. I have had a terrible shock," he said, "and I shall never recover. It is a question of weeks. Well, life has been pleasant. I liked it. Yes, sir, I used to like it." "Jekyll is ill too," said Mr. Utterson. "Have you seen him?" But Lanyon's face changed, and he held up a trembling hand. "I never wish to see or hear from Dr. Jekyll ever again, and I beg that you never mention his name again," he said in a loud voice. "We are 3 very old friends, Dr. Lanyon. Can I do anything to help you?" "Nothing can be done," returned Lanyon. "Ask Dr. Jekyll himself." "He will not see me," said the lawyer. "I am not surprised at that," was the reply. "Some day, Utterson, after I am dead, you may perhaps come to learn the truth. You can sit and talk with me about anything apart from Dr. Jekyll. But if you want to talk about him, then for God's sake, go, now." As soon as he got home, Utterson sat down and wrote to Dr. Jekyll. He wanted to know why the doctor did not want to see him, and why Dr. Lanyon hated him. The next day, Utterson received a long letter from Dr. Jekyll. He mentioned that his quarrel with Lanyon was incurable. "I do not blame our friend," Jekyll wrote, "but it is better that we must never meet." Dr. Jekyll wrote that now he wants to lead a solitary life. He mentioned that he had brought on himself a punishment and a danger that he cannot mention. The only one thing he asked from Mr. Utterson was to respect his solitary life. Mr. Utterson was very confused. A week ago, Dr. Jekyll was a polite, friendly, and good person. Now his peace of mind and his whole life seems to be wrecked. Such a great change could only mean Dr. Jekyll was going mad. A week later, Dr. Lanyon became very ill and died. After the funeral, Mr. Utterson took the letter that Dr. Lanyon told him to read after he died. When Mr. Utterson opened the envelope, inside was another envelope, which said it must only be opened after Dr. Jekyll is dead. Mr. Utterson was very curious and wanted to immediately open the letter, but because he was a good person, he respected the wishes of Dr. Lanyon and did not open it. Mr. Utterson tried to visit Dr. Jekyll several times. Poole, the butler, told him that he did not want to see anyone and spends most of his time in the laboratory, where he would sometimes sleep. Dr. Jekyll had grown very silent. He did not read. It seemed as if something was on his mind. Mr. Utterson eventually stopped going to Dr. Jekyll's house.